Okay, so before we start what's probably going to be the best review you guys have ever seen in your life, I just wanted to let you know that I have a store on Redbubble where I sell t-shirts with classic game title screens on them. Every piece of art comes straight from a screenshot from the game, and I've tried to keep every pixel intact, so do me a favor and go and check them out. How's it going, guys? I'm Jared and welcome back to Trash Classics. Let's face it, role-playing games are a pretty small niche, especially when compared to the success of your average first-person shooter or set-piece-driven action game. To me, this is a crime, but as some of you may be aware, there's an even smaller subgenre within the RPG scene. The strategy-based tactical role-playing game garners even less love from the mainstream than its admittedly unpopular big brother. Even with its small following, tactical RPG fans in the PS2 era were treated to some high-quality titles, and Konami's Ring of Red was easily one of the most unique, enjoyable, and underrated strategy RPGs to grace the console. Set in an alternate history where the defeat of Nazi Germany led to both the Russians and Americans occupying Japan, Ring of Red puts an insane spin on the archetypal role-playing backstory. The occupation of both democratic and communist forces leads to the creation of North and South Japan. Also, there's mechs. Because Japan. You play as a South Japanese military force who's been disavowed in order to penetrate the North and retrieve an experimental armored fighting walker, or AFW, that was stolen during a test demonstration. Kinda like the best parts of the first Front mission and Gundam 0083 combined. Now I'll admit this setup is kinda small for an RPG, but it does a good job of moving things forward and keeps you interested. With its many factions, movements, and acronyms, fans of military and political thrillers will probably get much more from this plot than most, which is always a plus in my book. There's also a big emphasis on well-fleshed out characters. Everyone in your team has unique personality and is generally likable, with the odd exception of your main character who channels a little bit too much of that introspective Japanese tough guy act. But all of this is secondary. The bulk of any real strategy RPG is in its combat, and I hope you aren't expecting a simple turn-based affair because you won't find one here. Ring of Red houses one of the most deep and interesting combat systems I've ever seen before. On the battle map, things look pretty typical, with small representations of your character that you can position to complete objectives, but initiating an attack is a whole different story. Before heading into a skirmish, you can check enemy stats, choose your crew, and assign ground troops to accompany you into battle. Upon entering a fight, you'll notice the whole tactical RPG thing has been thrown out the window. Now instead of controlling little chess pieces, you're piloting a giant mech in both the real-time and turn-based environment. Things from this point can seem a little daunting, but once you've mastered them, combat controls become second nature and give you the feeling of having full control of these giant metal badasses. Hitting up or down will control moving backwards or forwards, and this is essential as each type of AFW has a combat distance that it's most effective at. Everything from shooting your weapons to being shot at can push you in and out of range, so you're going to want to keep an eye on that distance meter. Pressing X will bring up the command menu. From here you can order ground units, use special skills, and when your reload gauge is filled, fire your main weapons. When you choose to fire, you're taken into a first-person view to aim your guns, and this is easily the most fun and stressful part of the game. In firing mode, you have no real control over your reticle, instead waiting for your accuracy percentage to increase and choosing when to fire. It doesn't sound too complicated, but there's a serious risk-reward dynamic going on here. In firing mode, you're a sitting duck for enemy attacks, and holding out for that coveted 100% can take a long time. Sometimes you might have to take a gamble on a shot that has a high chance of missing and just pray that it doesn't. I've gritted my teeth and wiped sweat from my forehead far too many times during these firing modes, but this is not the only method you have to damage your enemy. Ground troops have special abilities that work on a cooldown mechanic. These actions range from setting mines for approaching enemies, boosting troop defense, throwing grenades, and even fixing your AFW. When a skirmish really heats up, you'll have cannon fire, machine guns, and grenades flying all over the place. This gives the fights a real gritty, Saving Private Ryan kind of feel, and it makes the typical grind of a tactical RPG seem fast-paced and action-packed. Being an early PS2 game, I'm still to this day surprised at how good Ring of Red looks. 3D models are insanely detailed with individual gears and motors visible and animated. Character art's also drawn really well and has an old paper-looking filter over it to go with the game's 1960s steampunk aesthetic. This look also extends into the cutscenes with AFWs edited into authentic war footage. The entire look of the game, from the 3D graphics to the art and menu design, shows the developer had a distinct vision in mind when creating Ring of Red. And it's this kind of attention to detail that games have been lacking in this last generation. Well, with all this praise, you'd figure there's something negative to be said, but honestly, the game's damn near perfect. The only real flaw I can think of is one that's common to all strategy RPGs, and that's the huge amount of time required to finish a fight. In a quick encounter, I was able to take out every enemy in about 17 minutes, so this won't be one of those games you pick up for a real quick fix. But this also plays into the game's strengths because it's enough of a visceral experience that you want to keep playing. On more than one occasion recording footage for this review, I found myself playing for hours without even realizing it, and that's the sign of a great game. For those of you who are on the fence, Ring of Red is easily one of the best RPGs on the PS2. Its fighting mechanics are unlike any you've ever played before, and it pulls off an authentically old feeling that never gets old. Typically, games this unique come with a pretty large price tag, but collectors should have no problem finding a complete copy of Ring of Red for under $12, and for a game this good, that's a steal. As an RPG fan, I can't recommend this game enough. It has all the trademarks of a classic tactical RPG with some new innovations that breathe life into one of my favorite genres. So as this game's commanding officer, I'm promoting it to the rank of Trashed Classic. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button to stay updated on my future videos. If you didn't like what you saw, well, leave me a comment and let me know how I can improve. And for everyone else, what's your favorite underrated strategy RPG? Let me know in the comments below because honestly, I'm starting to feel like I've played them all. Also, feel free to check out one of my past reviews here, because if I don't pay these Colombians back soon, they're going to take one of my titles.